Don't fall into the trap or spending habits of broke people, because this is what keeps them broke. And you don't have to make major lifestyle changes to make progress. Just be a bit more disciplined about your spending choices and make saving a lifestyle habit. Hello again. Welcome to The Ruthless Truth. I am your host, Truth Davis. In this forum, I share opinions, thoughts, truths on a wide variety of topics based on what I believe to be a unique life experience. And you can read the details of that in the notes or the bio. My intent is to share stories and experiences and hopefully provide some life lessons that will help you on your journey. Please follow me on Instagram at TruthDavis5, subscribe to the YouTube channel Ruthless Truth, and there's also a Facebook page, Ruthless Truth. General format, I'll share some initial commentary or just thoughts on the current news. Then I'll take one subject and have a deeper discussion, and that'll be today's truth. And then I like to finish with an American history fun fact. Okay. Over the past few weeks, I really haven't said much about the war with Iran, primarily because I try only to speak on subjects that I know or understand. And I really don't understand what's going on. I don't know why we're there, what we're trying to do, or even how it's going. Now, allegedly, there's a ceasefire in place, but attacks continue to happen from all sides. That said, the president did state this week that he sees an end to the war in sight in just a few days. Now, normally that would be reassuring, except that this marks the 37th time he has said that victory is imminent. 37 times he says it's almost over. So I don't know what to believe or think. Besides, the president has more important things to do, like attending NBA Finals games in New York, although he apparently didn't have time to attend his son's wedding a few weeks ago. He's the first sitting U.S. president to ever attend an NBA Finals game. Why? Because all the other presidents felt their presence would be disruptive, and they did not want to take away from the fan experience. And I kind of understand his lack of interest in attending a wedding, because weddings are all about the bride and groom. So it wouldn't be about him. But attending the game made it all about him. You got to give him credit, though. He stays on brand. Okay. Hey, how about some good news? The U.S. economy added 172,000 new jobs in May, blowing past expectations of only 88,000. And that's according to the government's closely watched monthly jobs report. The unemployment rate remained flat at 4.3%. Now, most of the increase in jobs were from the industries of leisure and hospitality, healthcare, and local governments. Now, while this was good news for the economy, the stock market reacted quite differently. In fact, the stock market had its worst day of the year. Now, of course, this infuriated the president, who measures economic success by stock market performance. He lamented, quote, "With a great jobs report, like just announced, stock should go up, not down." He still doesn't fully grasp the purpose and mission of the Fed, but investors know. They know with a stronger economy, it's unlikely the Fed will lower interest rates anytime soon, which is a downer for investors. But stock market aside, this is good news. But it's also more evidence of a much greater historic shift in the U.S. job market. For decades, corporate careers followed a predictable formula. You get a degree, you land a job, you work your way up, and eventually retire. Success was measured in titles, promotions, and tenure. Clear markers that made it easy to track progress. Well, those days are over. And what's interesting is that both sides are fine with it. Employers are more focused on skill mapping rather than, traditional resumes and degrees. And employees want more work-life balance, autonomy, and independence. So the allure and status of the white-collar job is fading. But there are tremendous opportunities in other job sectors. For example, according to estimates from Associated Builders and Contractors, the construction industry needs to add an estimated 349,000 net new workers this year alone just to meet demand, fueled in part by a skyrocketing need for electricians. The expansion of AI has sparked a massive physical infrastructure build out because building data centers for the AI requires massive electrical wiring and cooling systems, making electrical and HVAC jobs highly lucrative. And there are widespread efforts to invest in training and recruiting more young workers into the skilled trades. The foundation of Lowe's Home Improvement has pledged $250 million, including hiring more instructors and setting up mobile classrooms in rural areas. Marvin Ellison, Lowe's CEO, addressed the shift away from college-based career paths. He stated, quote, "Within our society, we've created a belief there's only one pathway to be successful. And that is you have to go to college and you have to get a 4-year degree. But there are multiple pathways," end quote. Just this week, Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, they announced a $115 million investment to launch a new academy for workers to receive training in a skilled trade at no cost with a job guaranteed for all graduates. Rachel Peterson, who's the vice president of data centers at Meta, said, "America needs hundreds of thousands of skilled tradespeople, electricians, mechanics, fiber technicians, and more. And this program creates clear, accessible pathways into those careers." And these are just a couple of examples. This is not a fluke or short-term trend. This is the future of career opportunities in the U.S. Now, don't get me wrong. Each of these companies still has a corporate structure, which means there are still corporate career paths. So the corporate executive path is not gone, but the path may just be somewhat different than it has been in the past. Okay, let's get to today's truth. Today's truth. It has often been said that being poor is very expensive. And you know what? It's true. People without money or few options when faced with an emergency are often exploited. Even day-to-day living expenses such as food, gas, insurance, and transportation cost more for those who have the least. So in today's truth, I want to outline a few basic fundamental financial actions that can help you eliminate doing broke people things, because broke people behavior will keep you broke. Okay? First, do you know there are entire product categories that rich people never purchase? Included on this list are new cars, designer merchandise such as luggage and watches, home warranties, lottery tickets, extended warranties, bank fees, gambling, premium brand credit cards, timeshares, and whole life insurance, just to name a few. Wealthy individuals typically avoid products that are status driven, rapidly depreciating, or feature heavy brand premiums without a proportional increase in quality. So instead of buying superficial luxury, they focus on asset building, utility, and cost efficiency. They do not buy products just to impress people. Now, take a look at your own buyer behavior. Are you buying like a broke person or a person who is trying to build wealth? Now, many people will make the point that they have to buy warranties or pay bank fees because they don't have the cash available to make cost-effective purchases. Exactly. Broke and poor people don't have cash savings. Let me make a very clear distinction here. Broke and poor are not the same thing. Being poor is directly related to income. I mean, if you don't earn much money, it's hard to accumulate money. But being broke, that's related to spending. There are households that earn over $100,000 a year, but are still broke. These people don't have an income problem. They have a problem with priorities and choices. So, what can you do to improve your financial situation and thus improve your options? Well, I will offer a few simple, straightforward steps you can take. Okay, first, build an emergency cash fund. Why is this so important? Because nearly 40% of U.S. households cannot comfortably cover a $500 emergency expense with cash or liquid savings. So what happens in this situation? What do? Well, these people take on debt, often with high interest rates, or they have to sell possessions, or many times they just can't cover the expense. A lack of savings leads people to purchase products such as home or car warranties because they're afraid of incurring a bill they can't pay. Look, I was the chief marketing officer of American Home Shield, the nation's largest home warranty company. Let me tell you, we knew who our customers were, and we knew how to appeal to them. We just reminded them that home appliances and systems fail, and so they needed to pay us $40 to $70 a month for a warranty just in case something happens. But people who know they can cover that bill, they don't buy warranties. That's $700 a year they have available to save or invest. You should have a minimum of 3 months of living expenses in a liquid, accessible account, such as a savings or money market account. Not only does this provide protection from unexpected expenses, but because of the cash balance you carry, you'll probably have bank accounts that charge no fees. Now, often when I have this discussion with people, the most common response I get is, I don't have enough money to pay my monthly bills now. How will I be able to save anything? I know people believe this, but the fact is, almost everyone can identify some money spent on unnecessary, discretionary purchases that could be eliminated or at least reduced, and instead have that money placed in savings. I am confident that most people can find $100 a month that they just carelessly or casually spend. It could be in the form of bottled water, coffee, regularly going out to bars versus drinking at home or with friends. How many streaming services do you subscribe to? I mean, do you even know? How often do you get your nails or eyelashes done? Believe me, you can find it. And $100 a month quickly adds up. You can build a nice cushion in a matter of months. And if you don't trust yourself to be disciplined, look into getting a savings app that will help you set up automatic savings so that you don't have to even think about it. Okay, let's get to some other steps. Secondly, you've got to improve your credit score. You know, in episode 34 of The Ruthless Truth, I conducted a deep discussion on the importance of credit scores. But just to summarize that, people with low scores pay more for credit cards, auto insurance, rent, and it can even impact job prospects. And the single greatest factor in improving your credit score is to pay your bills on time. Pay your bills on time. Okay, another one. Man, give up the lottery. Yeah, I personally have never purchased a lottery ticket in my life, ever. And I don't have any moral or religious objections to the lottery or gambling. That's not it. It's just I know the overwhelming majority of people spend more on lottery tickets than they get back in winnings. But do you know who does buy lottery tickets? Broken poor people. They're attracted to the chance of big winnings. Well, statistically, you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice than getting rich from the lottery. So let that one go. All right, another one. Don't buy luxury brand names and items. Why are you even buying these things? Do you think it makes you look rich or successful? Are you trying to impress friends and family? Those are not reasons. You know, it's ironic because people will buy merchandise that they think makes them look rich when people who are actually rich don't buy those items. And if you need to spend this way to fit in with your friends, then you need new friends. Another way to reduce spending, stay home. Look, I love to go out. I like restaurants. I like trying different cuisines. But eating out is a budget killer. And I'm not saying not to treat yourself out from time to time, but I encourage you to try this exercise. Just take 1 month and keep track of how much money you spend going out for an entire month. I think you'll be surprised how much you are spending. And even eliminating just 1 or 2 or a few nights out a month could lead to significant savings. Finally, pay down your debt. If you're only making minimum payments on your credit card, you'll never get out of this hole. Now, you may be thinking, well, Truth, you just said for me to build an emergency cash fund. How can I save and pay down debt at the same time? Believe me, people do it all the time. But there's one thing that these people have that you probably don't have, and that's a budget. Sit down, write out how much money you will spend for the month and how you will spend it, and then stick to it. You should have a line for debt reduction and a line for savings. Believe me, it can be done. So to summarize, don't fall into the trap or spending habits of broke people, because this is what keeps them broke. And you don't have to make major lifestyle changes to make progress. Just be a bit more disciplined about your spending choices and make saving a lifestyle habit. And if you need additional help or motivation, there are many helpful free resources online. But it's up to you to make the commitment and effort to do better. Okay, let's get to today's American History Fun Fact. Today's American History Fun Fact. You know, I'm sure that many of you have seen the movie Back to the Future starring Michael J. Fox. And for those who have not seen it, I assume most of you are familiar with the film. It's actually a trilogy, but the key plot element is that Michael J. Fox's character, Marty McFly, travels through time in a time machine built out of a luxury sports car. Specifically, the car is a DMC-12 manufactured by the DeLorean Motor Company. Well, in today's American History Fun Fact, I'll tell the story of the DeLorean Motor Company that, despite its prominent presence in one of the most successful film enterprises ever, was an epic corporate failure. Okay, Let's start. John DeLorean, a Detroit native, was an engineer, inventor, and key executive at General Motors. He managed the development of several iconic Pontiac models, including the GTO, Firebird, and the Grand Prix. Well, in 1973, he left GM to form his own automotive company, and in 1975, founded the DeLorean Motor Company, or DMC. He raised $200 million to launch the company, including $4 million from his own pocket. At the time, the conventional thinking was that it should take 5 to 7 years to design, develop, test, and launch a brand new car. DeLorean accomplished the feat in 28 months, which had never been done before or since. A 2-seat sports car prototype was shown in the mid-1970s called the DeLorean Safety Vehicle. The car entered into production as the DMC DeLorean. Now, the manufacturing plant to build the new car was built in Northern Ireland with substantial financial incentives from the Northern Ireland Development Agency, and they gave approximately $230 million in US dollars, which is the equivalent to $1.5 trillion today. Production was scheduled to begin in 1979, but engineering delays and budget overruns caused the assembly lines to start only in early 1981. Now, the workers at the factory were generally inexperienced, and many of them had never had jobs before joining DMC. And this may have contributed to the reported quality issues attributed to the early production vehicles. The stainless steel body panels were attractive and impervious to corrosion, but the sheen surface tended to show fingerprints and also meant the car could not easily be painted. So every DeLorean looked identical. Now, the retail price was $25,000, which is equivalent to about $85,000 today. And initially, there was a waiting list. But the United States was in the midst of a recession, and many people saw the DeLorean as overpriced, especially given its modest performance as a sports car. It took over 10 seconds for it to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour. Now, the lack of demand, the cost overruns, and unfavorable exchange rates began to take their toll on DMC's cash flow in late 1981. DMC's funding was exhausted as the first car rolled off the line in January 1981. So sales were paramount. So there wasn't time left to fully test the car, rectify and correct any factory production techniques before it was shipping to dealers. Now, of course, this led to many high-profile and famous people receiving the first cars that had production issues. And bad press quickly spread, and then a lot of the cars were returned. Now, the company had estimated its break-even point to be between 10,000 and 12,000 units, but sales were only around 6,000. In March 1982, just 14 months after the first DeLorean rolled off the assembly line, Bank of America sued John DeLorean for defaulting on loan payments and asked for 1,979 DeLorean luxury sports cars in reparation. And at some point in 1982, John DeLorean became the target of an FBI sting operation designed to arrest drug traffickers. And he was arrested in October 1982 and charged with conspiring to smuggle $24 million worth of cocaine into the U.S. And although the FBI had him on tape conspiring with undercover agents, he was eventually acquitted of all charges. But his reputation was forever damaged. When asked if he planned to resume his career in the car industry, DeLorean famously and bitterly quipped, quote, "Would you buy a used car from me?" So in October 1982, the British government shut down the DeLorean plant and the company was bankrupt by December 1982. In the end, approximately 9,000 cars total were produced from January 1981 to December 1982, with total sales of 6,700 cars approximately. The film Back to the Future was released in 1985, featuring a DMC DeLorean. And DeLorean wrote to writer and producer Bob Gale to thank him for immortalizing the car. Well, following the demise of the DeLorean Motor Company, John DeLorean pursued other technological ventures, but none were successful. So in 1999, he declared personal bankruptcy after fighting some 40 legal cases following the collapse of the DeLorean Motor Company. He was forced to sell his 434-acre estate in Bedminster, New Jersey in 2000. Donald Trump bought it and converted it to what's now known as the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster. John DeLorean died of a stroke in 2005 at the age of 80. Okay, that's all I have for you today on The Ruthless Truth. Thank you so much for listening. Again, follow me on Instagram at TruthDavis5. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Ruthless Truth. There's also a Facebook page, Ruthless Truth. And take some time to look at some of the past episodes, of which there are many, covering a broad range of topics. I'm sure you will find something helpful and of interest. So again, thank you for your time, and I will talk to you again soon.